Well, good afternoon. It's Longhaultanker, straight razor shaving with Longhaultanker, and today is December the 24th, Christmas Eve, and it's approximately 1:25. That's 13:25, and Merry Christmas. And I am at the Love's Truck Stop in North Lufkin, Texas, and I've got some things to say. And look at all that mess. 5 days. I have not had opportunity to shower and shave since the last video, which was out in Berthoud, Colorado on Thursday, I believe it was. So it's been 5 days since I've showered and shaved, and of course you ought to be asking yourself, why? Why am I in this state of condition? How did I get in this? Well, obviously growth and time, but why have I not had the time to stop and shower and shave and do what I like to do? It's one of those, I took up the hobby, is that I like shaving with a straight razor, but you've got to have a little bit of time. And this has been a wild week. And I'll go through it here. We'll have a little discussion about truck drivers' hours of service and the different running clocks. And sometimes they just all come to a crashing halt. And you got to stop and do a 34-hour reset on the road. And if you're not careful with your planning and your trip planning and where you're going to stop, how long does it take, your distances between A and B, if you've grossly miscalculated. When I say grossly, anything over 30 minutes would be a serious miscalculation. Anything over 2 hours would be a gross miscalculation. But I will say this too, that the trip planners in their ivory towers, when they start using their little matrix and calculators on how you're going to run this load and you're going to run this load, and it should take this amount of time and this many miles, and if you're looking for the fastest and the cheapest way to go, you're often going to crash and burn. And then you're going to put drivers like me, these ivory tower managers who make these calculations are going to force the driver to have to stop and do a 34-hour reset. When did I leave? Last Thursday? Last Wednesday I left. And so I've had 6 continuous days of anywhere from 10 to 13 and a half hours, and anywhere from 550 to 700 miles a day. And so I'm tired. I welcome, frankly, the shutdown. I just hate that it's an hour from my home is an hour and a half, 90 miles from where I'm presently sitting, and the terminal yard is 2.5 hours from where I'm presently sitting. But when I stopped here last night at the end of the 6th day on the road, with all those hours and with all those miles and the miscalculations, I ended the day at approximately 7:30 last evening, 19:30, with 10 minutes left on my 70-hour running clock. 70 hours, and I'll go into what all that means. 70 hours in 8 days. Yesterday was day number 6, and so if you burn up all your hours over 6 days, then days 7 and 8 you're shut down, or at least until you've completed a 34-hour restart. Anyway, it burns me up. I should be at home. Oh, actually, there was another load. I have forfeited the follow-up load, which was to, I've been to Berthoud, Colorado, not Berthoud, over there in Greeley. I've been to Greeley, Colorado. I have been to Ozark, Missouri, and tomorrow I'm supposed to leave for Vernal, Utah, but I've got a mechanical difficulty on the truck. The heater's not working. First it was the air conditioner, it's not working. Then it was followed by a week later with the heater not working. And I am not going up into Colorado and Utah mountains at freezing temperatures and snowfall. Snowfall tomorrow and snowfall on Friday. Delivery was supposed to be on Saturday. So anyway, the equipment today. Now I brought 2 razors with me on this trip, and they're both small 5/8 razors. I used the first one in the last video. It was the Hofritz, which I have right here. It's serving as the backup razor for today. And my head razor, head shave razor is going to be the Union razor, 6/8. I'll show that more later. But today, for the primary shave, is this 5/8 Simmons Hardware. Barber's, what's that say? Barber's Pet, number 421. And then on the back it says Simmons Hardware Company, Manufacturers and Distributors, USA. So let's show that off. Right there, that's a good shot right there. And both of these razors were on either the Arkansas, one of the Arkansas stones, or Zulu Gray. I know I've spent a lot of time with the Hofritz on a Zulu Gray. All right. And the soap is the Beresford and Man Seville, Barber Seville. It's a barbershop scent. The omnibus base, I know one of the fellas was talking about the omnibus base, and I think I have found the secret a little bit to some of these, and that is less is more. You get more lather. That's the lid, obviously. So, and then the brush is Sterling Soap Company board bristle, 31 millimeter knot, 50, 51, 52 loft on it, and nice man-sized handle. And it's going to be interesting to see how this brush works on this and these kinds of soaps. But it's awful soft, so it may work all right. Put that back in the water. And now I may not have a lot to say. I'm not in the merriest of moods. And I know life is largely what you make of it. But on Christmas Eve, now the good news is with my previous load, or my subsequent load, being reassigned, I haven't been told what to do, so I'm going home. I've been out for a week. I'm going to tell you something. I've been kind of chided this morning by my boss. You know, when your boss and your mechanic tell you, I'm on Christmas break, you know, call the other guy. And you text the other guy and he says, I'm on Christmas break, call the mechanic or call the other guy. And you feel like you're an orphan child stuck out in the desert. All right, that's what I'm going to start with right there. And now, hours of service. There's 3 clocks running simultaneously. There is 2 of them are a daily clock, and 1 is essentially a weekly clock, and you'll see what I mean by that when I get to it, talking about it. And the daily clock, you have what's called an on-duty clock, which is 14 hours. So you've got 14 hours on duty, during which those 14 hours, 11 of those can be used, no more than 11 of those can be used for actual driving. All right, and that's essentially it for that. Now, aggregately or accumulatively, those hours then, over the course, now we're on the 70-hour, 8-day rule, and that's what most interstate over-the-road drivers are on, as opposed to an interstate like Texas and other states, I'm sure, are not a 14-hour, but a 18-hour on-duty clock with a 15-hour drive time. But all your driving must be contained within the state. You can't have any interstate driving, and the preponderance of your driving, not just over the course of a week or a month, but you are an intrastate driver or you are an interstate driver. And each come with their own set of rules, and that's fine. That's how that works. And so you're allowed, you're given 70 hours for 8 days. Now you can use those within the daily confines of the 14 and 11 hour rule. You could run 11 hours drive time for 5 days, 6 days. If you did it for 6 days, drove 11 hours for 6 days, that would be 66 hours, and you would at the end of the 6th day, you would largely find yourself in the same predicament that I am right now. You got no hours left to drive. I say you got 4 if you did it that way. But what about the on-duty hours? When you're getting unloaded or loaded, and you move from driving to on duty, those hours tick away as well. So you may have a day where you actually have worked 13, 14 hours, maximum 14, and you can burn up your 70 hours pretty quick that way. And that's kind of what's happened with me. I also had, I was caught in some traffic due to an accident on a 2-lane road coming up out of Houston, which is very convenient, this road. Very convenient coming up out of Houston, and it enables you to bypass most of the city. Grand Parkway, if you want to look at a map, look at the Grand Parkway, Texas 99, coming up out of Baytown. And that'll bring you from Baytown all the way over to Interstate 69 on the north side of town, and you completely bypass the city, which that's a good thing, right? Now, what I want to do here as I get started is I want to give this union raiser the glorious honor of the first couple of strokes on these 5 days of whiskers, just to leave the impression or give the impression that the union razor, cheap Chinese razor, sold for $12 in the truck stops, can shave this degree of whiskers. And I'm just going to take a couple of strokes, maybe only one stroke, if it does a sufficiently good enough job, just to illustrate. And then I'll move to my primary razor. And take note that the size of the razor, the 5/8, my anticipation is that it's going to give a very fine shave. And the size don't matter. All right, here we go. Union razor, just a couple of strokes. Oh yeah, look at that. Bam, 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 bam. All right, that's all the further, oh yeah, that's, and this too was honed up on the Arkansas black, surgical black. And so these are all Arkansas, likely, maybe Zulu gray on the one, the Hofritz, because the Hofritz is one of the early razors I got, and it spent a lot of time, 2015, 16, it spent a lot of time on the Zulu gray. All right, let's go again. In fact, let's just, I want to say that this is the most whiskers I believe I have ever had between shaves, 5 days. I've had two, obviously two, that's the common for me, length of time, 2 days. I've had 3 days of whiskers many a time, and every once in a while I get a 4-day stretch, but 5 days, rarely do I ever go 5 days. So I was told that Ozark, I got back from Colorado, and my next load was going to Ozark, Missouri, and I was told that it was about 600 miles. I knew it wasn't. But you know, there's some people you can say no to or try and correct, and there are people you can't. And your years of experience on routing and driving experience don't mean as much. Now, do a map GPS routing from Baytown, Texas, on the east side of Houston, to Ozark, Missouri, which is south of Springfield. Yeah, and just east of Joplin, Missouri, and you'll find that it's going to tell you 703.5 miles. Some might tell you 715. And the closest one that I could find that was even close to 600 and not 700 was going to Little Rock, 430 loop to 40, go west on 40 to Conway and pick up, I think it's 58, US Highway 58. Don't hold me to that, but it goes straight north. And a good little bit of it is 4-lane highway. Very good. Now, I need to start this off by saying that as I was coming up out of Houston on that Grand Parkway out of Baytown, I had been driving for no more than 30 minutes or so, and maybe a little longer, and came upon an accident, and I was delayed for 3 hours. We were just, a tanker truck had overturned, 2-lane highway, had blocked everything. It was a mess. Now, as is often the case, when I'm parked somewhere some night and I do not have suitable facilities at that site the night before, when I get up the next morning, I'll drive to the nearest site, Love's Truck Stop, that has suitable facilities. And so I was headed from where I started, I was headed to the Love's Truck Stop at North Cleveland, Texas, about an hour and 15-minute drive. Now I got in there, get my cup of coffee, warm up my breakfast burrito that my homemade from my wife, get my cup of water, get a couple of cups of ice. I need to say that I left my terminal yard, which does not have the ordinary facilities that I'm talking about. I left there about 5:30 that morning. And this would be day before yesterday morning on my way up to Ozark, Missouri. So as I say, I got up to the truck stop, got my coffee and such, and got out of there, and it was 10 o'clock. So from 5:30 to 10 o'clock to get to that truck stop, do my little bathroom, my toiletries, let's just say that, and my coffee. That's how long I was delayed, 5 hours. I was in the accident for about a little better than 3 hours. When I say accident, in the backup traffic. So I already knew that the day was going to be hellacious, just an unpleasant. Now I will say, let me further say that the only routing that I could find that was even close to 600 miles, about 630, 640 miles, through Conway, Arkansas, up the back road of US, whatever it is. And you'll see it. It's common. If you were to look at a map, you would see it going straight up out of straight north out of Conway. And Harrison, Arkansas. And on the state line, anyway, that's a good enough idea. But that's not the common route to go. Out of Houston, to get to that up around Springfield, Missouri. By the way, the soap has a lovely barbershop spice scent to it. And I didn't overload the brush, but it is performing well. In my opinion, better than the A&E soaps. But you just can't hardly get them to lather. But this one's doing okay. It's not. It's more of an oil. I won't say that. Okay, so the common route to go is to go up through Dallas, 45. Interstate 45 out of Houston to Dallas, pick up US 75 in Dallas, take it on north into eastern Oklahoma. You're going to pick up 75 becomes 69, US Highway 69. That'll take you on up through Muskogee, Oklahoma, Big Cabin, Oklahoma, and up there at Big Cabin, you're going to pick up Interstate 44, and that'll take you straight into Missouri, Joplin, over to Springfield. That's 715, 20 miles going that direction to Ozark, Missouri. And and even though these trucks will go 70 miles, 80 miles an hour, you can't always count on that. Speed limits aren't important. I mean, you don't want to get a ticket. And a fast truck will get you, even any fast vehicle, will get you in trouble quick. But sometimes you have to push the limit. I'm not saying I got a ticket, I didn't. But here's the point I want to make. I did have the delay that morning because of the accident, the traffic that I got caught up in. I did not have an accident, let's make that clear. And picked up that highway out of Conway to go north Arkansas. And just like last night, I started running low on driving hours, and I was going to have to find a place to shut down. And so I found a place, very small, got the last parking place. We stopped about, I don't know, between 8 and 9 o'clock with 10 or 15 minutes left on my daily clock for the day. And that left me 2.5 hours from destination for delivery yesterday morning, which was scheduled for 8 o'clock, 0800. All right, fine. So from the time I stopped, I guess it was about 8 o'clock, because I had to be underway by 6 o'clock to get my 8 o'clock delivery time. But I could also see that I was going to have very limited time to get back from there to Houston yesterday, in order to get back for the Vernal, Utah. Now, at this time, my heater on the truck is still working. Freezing temperatures in Missouri and Arkansas. The place I found to stop for that night before last, was in Harrison. And left me 2.5 hours from delivery, which I made on time. Got there at 8 o'clock. They had me out by 9:45, maybe 10 o'clock, which is appropriate. And again, first thing I did after I got out of there is I headed to the nearest Love's truck stop, which was about an hour. I came home a different way. I was not, and here's the other piece of the story that I wanted to say. And that is that, you know, the drive from Houston, even though I had the delay of almost 3 hours there, up to Little Rock, 8.5 hour drive, depending upon how fast, it was fine. It was, you know, a full day's drive. I wasn't real crazy about having to drive another X number of hours to Harrison. I haven't even picked up my truck stop by then that I was going to stop. And I'm doing searches on my GPS the entire, you know, drive up. I think it's 58. The point is, it got dark, and all of a sudden this nice 4-lane highway became a 2-lane highway, up and down mountains, round and round curves, sharp curves, at night, in the dark. And it became, I will never travel that road again. I'll just say it that way. I will never drive. If I have a choice, I will never travel that road. I will go the more traditional route through Oklahoma, going into Missouri, going into Joplin, and pick up Interstate 44 at Big Cabin. And as I say, that's the more traditional routing. Going from Dallas, going from Houston, and while it may have said on a map or GPS somewhere that it was 640 miles, it's the time consumption, because you get on a highway like that, all of a sudden it's about the speed limits going through the small towns and how they're 45 and 55 miles an hour, and you're not 65 and 70 or even 75. Have you noticed how many highways now out in the country, get out of the city limits, are now up to 75 miles an hour? Almost everywhere now is up to 75 on the highways. Once you get out of the city limits, once you get out of the congested areas. But when you're driving mountain passes, and of course on that, it's the same highway that goes right through Branson, Missouri. And of course it's quite the sight to see, but at night, after dark, on a good 4-lane interstate that has truck stops and rest areas and safety places to stop, and this routing had none of that, or so few of them, But where I stopped at Harrison and found that one parking place in that it was just a dirt lot, but it was jammed up, and so I was lucky to find that one parking spot. As soon as you got out of Harrison, across the state line into Missouri, which is just real close, it opened up into beautiful 4-lane highway, and I had an easy time getting on up to Ozark and getting to my destination and making delivery. Was all easy enough. I didn't know it opened up that soon into a 4-lane highway, whereas from where I had spent the night, I didn't know that. But I will never go back that way. Never, never. Nice hot water in the shower this morning. Good hot water at the sink here. Not much water pressure. It does not have one of those water savers on it, as best I can tell. Boy, it feels good to have that 5 days worth of whiskers off my face. Well, my manager, my boss, when I reported to him this morning that the truck was blowing outside air, was no longer blowing heat, which we already knew a couple of weeks ago that it wasn't blowing cool, it wasn't blowing AC. And so he's taken my Vernal, Utah load and given it to another driver, which is fine. I don't personally mind, because it's got my air conditioner, heater, it's all got to be fixed. Oh, I watched Bill's Bill M's two most recent videos this morning. Razor dash or underscore ends the underscore straight. I'm not sure how all that works, but I hope it turns into something. And as Bill said, he and I talked on the phone about this notion. And I don't understand how it works. I don't understand at all how it works. But if it helps us, there's a number of us. I'll list the guys that I pay attention to. And Bill lists the guys that he pays attention to and watches the videos. And that's all good and fine. We don't have to start a forum. In fact, but there's a close enough connection between some of us that staying in connection with each other is fun. And for those that would like to be a part of this informal thing that we do on YouTube, that's great. That's great. You associate, you watch the videos you want to watch, you make comment to the people that you want to make comment to, you try to find maybe other direct, personal, private means of communication between those that you want to. And that's all good and fine. I will say that the truck stop here and the parking lot for the trucks is the parking lot for the trucks is a veritable ghost town. As you might expect, everybody's home. With their families. Now, I didn't expect to go home on Christmas Day. I expected to be going out to Utah, which is fine, which was fine. But I don't mind saying I'm looking forward to seeing my wife tomorrow. I haven't seen her in a week, and it's time for me to replenish my supplies in the truck anyway. Well, I'm starting to run out of gas a little bit. Tired. I slept pretty good last night, but I'm still tired. I'm getting older, I feel it too. You know, it would be nice to have some sort of magic wand and get a glimpse, view a history of the vintage razor that you have. Where did it come from? Who bought it? How did it pass down to you eventually? That would be interesting to see some of that, and then all of a sudden, oh, you got it. Well, look at that, no blood. That was some mighty fine scraping right there. Scraping? Yeah, scraping. All right. All right. Simmons Hardware, Barber's Pet, number 421. Ba-boom. That was a great shave. That was a wonderful shave. That is one that I will remember. 5 days. 5 days of Wizards. Now we're going to move to the Union razor. Now these are cheap Chinese razors that can be bought, and I've got 4 of these Union razors, 2 black scales, 2 white scales, and they're an excellent practice razor, much like gold dollars, a beginning razor. If you're working on a budget and you want to go to get started, to get to work as inexpensively as possible, you can't go wrong with it. Buy 2 or 3 of them, 4 of them, $12 a piece at the truck stops, and practice honing with them, and they're a good tool to get your shaving technique down. And they really are. All right. And I know there'll be a bunch of hoopla about certain people who say, oh, they're just cheap, they can't hold an edge, they're a waste of time. Get a good, inexpensive vintage razor. Well, the problem is they're good, inexpensive vintage razors are not as common or not as good as you might think they are. And here's another thing about vintage razors as a beginning razor, and that is, who really wants to, you've got to learn pressure. You've got to take the razor to the stone, apply the pressure, and figure out what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, what is damaging, what is not damaging, and I would just as soon do that with a $12, $6, $8 gold dollar Union razor, as opposed to, say, a $20 vintage razor purchased off of eBay or someplace, because it still says Wade & Butcher on it. It may not be the best Wade & Butcher, but it's a Wade & Butcher. It's a Frederick Reynolds. It's a German Puma. It's something that, well, I know it's not the best razor, but I don't want to ruin it. Well, so don't. Get a cheap Chinese razor and learn how to use pressure. And you only learn to use pressure by using pressure. Oops. Oops, uh-oh. I hope that don't start bleeding. very little, so hopefully it won't get out of control. Not yet. Well, tomorrow's Christmas Day. I don't see any need. Both my manager and mechanic, shop mechanic, and we just got the one, the small company, just the one guy on the mechanics, are both out of town and not at the yard, and nothing's going to happen to my truck tomorrow. So I think I'm going to my hours refresh tomorrow morning. I think it's 5 o'clock, 8, maybe it's 6 o'clock a.m. But I'm not feeling the need to have to just get up and bust out in the morning. But I do want to see my wife. I am missing her considerably. And why wouldn't I? She's a wonderful wife and it's Christmas. I came in with all the tools today. Shower, start with a haircut. So haircut, shower, and shave. Bill made a comment in one of his 2 recent videos. He said, try and keep the water and the lather off of your hand and off of the razor, because they're slick, the residual slickness can make the razor slip in your hand, and how true that is. And as a side note, do the best to keep the Allen block off of the razor as well, because it will put a dark stain on carbon steel. Oh, that's just wonderful. Back of the neck is nice and smooth. Head is good. Face is fantastic. So that's it. So from Lufkin, Texas, doing a 34-hour restart because I'm stuck like Chuck. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, the best from me and my family to you and yours. I will see you down the road.